I can't believe I missed this. I have looked at this assassination attempt on President Trump, I think, like 1,000 times. I read all the reports. I'm obsessed with this case. What the hell happened? And they almost killed President Trump. They killed that other guy, Corey Comparator, injured 2 other people. And it was just that one individual, that one guy, Crooks, by himself. I don't think too many people are buying that. That is the official storyline. And they were watching him for 90 minutes prior to the assassination attempt. 90 minutes. The cops, the Secret Service, they knew about this guy. Well, folks, I just saw something that kind of blew my mind on this whole thing. And it was staring me in the face the entire time. Now, maybe you saw it. I did not. I'd like you to take a quick look over here, if you would. Here's President Trump, all right, about to get into the vehicle. He's right there, about to get in. And then there's this guy. He's about to do something very, very strange. And I just noticed it, well, basically yesterday. So let's take a look, everybody. About a month ago or so, you said they were going to brief you on what happened, what they know, the investigation. Yeah. Has that happened? Is there anything you can share with us? And maybe there should be a commission. Maybe there should be something else.
So it has happened, and they don't seem to think there was anything other than abnormal people. And I'll assume that's true.
Well, all right. Now I'll show you the video. He seems to be open to other theories as to what happened, right? Did you notice anything? Anything unusual? Well, the whole thing is unusual, I grant you. The slowness, but watch what the guy does with the gun. Once President Trump is in the vehicle, why does he point that weapon right at President Trump? That's kind of crazy. That is a big thing. And he seems to be, if you watch it one more time, in radio contact with somebody just before he makes the decision to lower his weapon. And is he aiming? Kind of looks that way to me. Now, it's momentary, but why would he do it? Can I do it one more time when we zoom in on him? I don't know if he's military. I don't know if he's National Guard, Secret Service, Homeland Security, or what. But if we had a full-fledged commission into this, we'd know who that was. You know, people are still studying the Zapruder Commission and the Zapruder film 60, 70 years later. Why aren't we studying this? Let me know if you've seen that. Let me know if you think that's unusual. I think it's pretty damn weird. I'd like to know why he was pointing. And who knows? Who knows? Everything's on the table regarding that case and the West Palm Beach case. All right, next, please. Petroleum synthetic food dyes. Sounds yummy, doesn't it? It's a chemical that's in our food to make it look a certain way. This does not go with food, but it's apparently in hundreds, if not thousands, of products that we consume all the time without even thinking about it. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., man, that guy is good. He's Health and Human Services Secretary, and they're going to ban this stuff, this petroleum synthetic food dyes. It's going to be phased out. This is just the first one. They're coming after a lot of chemicals. We can eat however we want, but they're going to get the food manufacturers, the preparers, to get rid of that stuff because it's poison.
When my uncle was president, 3% of American kids had chronic disease. Today, it's around 60%. Neurological disorders, ADD, ADHD, speech delay, language delay, tics, Tourette syndrome, narcolepsy, ASD, and autism. All of these are injuries that I never heard of when I was a kid. They were not part of the nomenclature. They weren't part of the dialogue. There was zero spent in this country treating chronic disease when my uncle was president. Today, it's about $1.8 trillion annually. It's bankrupting our nation. 74% of American kids cannot qualify for military service. Oh, how are we going to maintain our global leadership with such a sick population?
That is a great question. And the food we eat is garbage.
We have all these autoimmune diseases, these exotic diseases. And again, I never heard of juvenile diabetes, rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, Crohn's disease, and 100 others that were just unknown when I was a kid. I never knew anybody with a peanut allergy. I never knew anybody with a food allergy. Why do 5 of my 7 kids have allergies? I never knew of anybody who had eczema. I knew of a very small number of children who had asthma, but that has exploded as well today. And our fertility is dropping dramatically. Teenagers in this country today have the same testosterone levels as 68-year-old men.
Well, that should get everybody's attention. And periods, girls as young as 10, there's something. And I trust him. I know he's not a doctor, but I don't care. I really don't. I just trust the guy, and President Trump picked him. And oh, by the way, he's in great shape. The guy is totally ripped. He doesn't fool around out there. That's him on the right. He's like, what, 70, 71? Now, a lot of this food, the crazy stuff, the food coloring, why don't we know more about it? It's because, well, the FDA historically has been kind of corrupt.
All of these industries cast a dark shadow historically over this agency. And there's so many conflicts that we are now systematically eliminating. That has allowed them to suppress the science. There's shockingly few studies, even on food dyes, and on all these other ingredients as well.
Well, no studies on this stuff because the Food and Drug Administration traditionally has been, well, owned by big food, big agriculture, big corporate conglomerates that want to keep things exactly the way they are. Well, exactly the way they are killing the American people. We are sick, we're fat. I am much heavier than I should be, and I want to make a change here. He can't change everything, but he makes this point about sugar.
There's things that we'll never be able to eliminate, like sugar. And sugar is poison. And Americans need to know that. It is poisoning us. It's giving us a diabetes crisis. When I was a kid, I always say this, a typical pediatrician would see 1 case of diabetes in his lifetime. Today, it's 1 out of every 3 kids who walks through his office door. In our most recent study from NIH, 38% of American teens, it's half our adult population. This is existential. We are spending as much on mitochondrial disorders like diabetes as we spend on our military budget.
Well, it's time to change, don't you think? Personally, and let's face it, some of this food, we should have known at the get-go that it was bad for us. Like, I got to give this up, and I will, Count Chocula cereal. Yes, I've eaten it as an adult. I mean, give me a break. The cereal is literally death-themed. That is a Count sweet chocolate flavor cereal marshmallow bits. Marshmallows for breakfast. Got it. Thank you very much, FDA. And then Frankenstein meets a strawberry machine. Frankenberry, another favorite. Sweet strawberry flavor cereal. Again with the marshmallows for breakfast. We do a lot of crazy things as a society. And I'm not one for more government input, but I think we just might need more government input, at least with some of these manufacturers that I am so silly. I actually thought Fruit Loops was Fruit Loops. Did you notice? I didn't notice the guy with the gun in front of Trump, and I also never noticed that it doesn't say fruit. Because they can't, because it's all chemicals and no fruit. So goodbye to all that. Goodbye to my precious giant gummy bears. Last one. I just think he's onto something. And he took a big shot at the media. Because why isn't this stuff discussed more often? Why are we always talking about silly things like the Signal chat or just stuff that doesn't matter? Well, the media, in many ways, have been bought off.
Media malpractice, mass psychosis that has our media not talking about this. And one of the possible reasons for that is the amount of money that's coming from the pharmaceutical companies into our media and from these food companies.
He's right. He is totally right. And you'll notice that You watch TV. You know, we're very independent here. We can do our own thing, but the other guys, well, just watch. Why didn't they have? Why were they so reticent about concerns about drugs? Maybe this is the answer.
By Pfizer.
ABC News Nightline. Brought to you by Pfizer.
Making a difference. Brought to you by Pfizer.
CNN Tonight. Brought to you by Pfizer. Early Start. Brought to you by Pfizer. Friday night on Aaron Burnett Out Front. Brought to you by Pfizer.
This Week with George Stephanopoulos is brought to you by Pfizer.
This weather report brought to you by Pfizer.
Today's countdown to the royal wedding is brought to you by Pfizer.
And now with CBS Sports.
All right, we get the point. They're everywhere all the time. Pfizer. And who is that aimed at? I don't know if it's aimed at, like, consumers. I'm going to go out and buy something by Pfizer. Maybe it's aimed at the media, at lawmakers, big, you know, don't mess with us or we'll stop the money flow. I think that makes a lot of sense. Back to the petroleum synthetic food dyes. Petroleum synthetic, how can that get into food? Well, it makes things look nicer, cleaner. This is a French documentary. They have no problem taking on the big food people. And they're talking about why they put the dye in the meat, especially when it's ham. They want to make the ham look nice and pretty. The guy's speaking in French for part of it, but that's what he's saying.
Il va agir en donnant une coloration rosée, en fait, à la charcuterie.
In fact, he's telling us that the pretty pink of our ham isn't natural at all. It's thanks to sodium nitrite. This additive fixes the pink of the meat during cooking. Otherwise, ham would be the color of roast pork. That's why food industrialists can't do without it. As a processed meats producer would confirm.
Le nitrite, c'est vraiment ça. C'est vraiment pour la couleur, parce que, je vous dis, le jambon doit être rose, la crème doit être rose, elle doit pas être brune, parce que sinon on va me dire qu'elle est pas fraîche ou qu'elle est, etc. Donc, en clair, je cuis une viande, ça donne un jambon gris. C'est ce qu'il faudrait faire.
Oui, formidable. If the meat were brown and was ham, they wouldn't buy it. It's got to be pink. Kind of makes sense. And same for the gummy bear. I guess if this thing were gray or, I don't know, weirdly green, it wouldn't be cute anymore. And I wouldn't take a bite out of it like I did a few moments ago. Look, it's time, don't you think? Look at Americans 50 years ago or so on the beach. You had to look pretty hard for somebody who was a little bit plus size. These days, it's a lot easier. It's a lot easier. So this is all Trump's doing, by the way. He has given Robert F. Kennedy Jr. the green light to make stuff happen, to make America healthy again, and I love it. Now, presidents normally don't do this. Presidents are normally along for the ride. The agency determines what's going to happen. They might give the president, what do you choose, A, B, or C? The president has a choice from what the swamp actually brings to him or her. It's supposed to be the top down.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.